Welcome English 1102 friends. This is a video going through a couple of the nature and setting poems. The two poems we're going to cover here are Painting a Room by Katja Kapovich and Morning by Billy Collins. These two poems, they're both about a room really, or about a very enclosed home space. You know, you got Morning by Billy Collins, the speaker is working from home. And then Painting a Room is about your last night in an apartment before, in the case of this poem, before you move completely out of the country. Many of y'all may have had an experience like this where you move from one house to another, maybe just across town, maybe out of state, something like that. But this poem is about the last night that you spend in the place where you've lived for a while, and then the next day you're going to be gone and you'll never live here again. The painting a room that she does here is, if you've ever lived in an apartment or something like that, often before you move, you have to paint everything back the way it was, get everything back so you can get your security deposit. And that's what she's doing in this poem. Here on a March day in '89, so it's, about 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago for us, I blanched the ceiling and walls with bluish lime. What she's talking about right there is like primer, the primer that you put over especially dark colors before you can paint them white again. Drop cloths and old newspapers hide the hardwood floors, so she got this stuff down to protect the floors from the painting. All my furniture has been sold or given away to bohemian friends. Since she's moving out of the country, she's got to give a lot of her stuff away. There's nothing to eat but bread and wine. If you've ever moved out of a place, you probably have had this experience where you get rid of all the food because you don't want to have to move it. And so all she's got left in the house is bread and wine. An immigration visa in my pocket. There's the moving out of the country. I paint the small apartment where I've lived for 10 years. So she's lived here long enough, to have a bunch of memories, a bunch of experiences living here. Taking a break around 4 p.m. She's been painting all morning, all afternoon. I sit on the last chair in the empty kitchen, smoke a cigarette, wipe my tears. That sadness of leaving this place where you lived for 10 years. Wipe my tears with the sleeve of my old pullover. I am free from regrets, but not from pain. I don't regret moving, but it's sad that I'm leaving this place where I've lived. 10 years of fears, unrequited loves, odd jobs, night phone calls. Now they've disconnected the line. This poem's old enough that this person had a landline. One of the things you used to have to do when you moved is call and get your phone service set up. Now she's had it disconnected. The same way you have your power turn off when you move your cable, that kind of stuff. I drop the ashes in the sink. Pour turpentine into a jar, stirring with a spatula. She's cleaning up her paintbrushes there. You get paint off paintbrushes with that turpentine. My heart throbs in my right palm when I pick up the brush again. For 10 years, the window's turquoise frame has held my eyes in its simple frame. The window's turquoise square has held my eyes in its simple frame. Now, face to face with the darkening sky, what more can I say to the glass? But thanks for being transparent, seamless, wide, and stretching perspective across the size of the visible. So she looks out this big window of her apartment and thinks, this is where I've seen the world for 10 years. This has been my frame. This apartment and this window in it has been the home base where I view the world out of for 10 years. Then I wash the brushes and turn off the light. This is my last night before moving abroad. I'll lie down on the floor, a rolled up coat under my head. She doesn't even have a pillow to sleep on because she's had to get rid of all this stuff before she moves, so she's sleeping on her coat. This is the last night. Freedom smells of a freshly painted room, wooden floor swept with a willow broom, stale raisin bread. So the few things left in the apartment, this sort of freedom, escaping this place where you lived, and a fresh start, and that kind of, you get this double experience of this sadness of all the memories you had here, and this place being the way you saw the world out of in your home, for 10 years, but also this sort of new beginnings and freedom, and I'm free of all this stuff, and I'm getting to start over, especially moving out of the country and moving to a new country. And so it's like all the old stuff is left behind, it's gone. She doesn't even have a pillow to sleep on, and so there is this freedom of like starting over and getting rid of all the old stuff, but there's also this sadness of leaving the place where you've been and that's been home for 10 years. And so she connects freedom with these sensory experiences like the freshly painted walls and the wooden floors that she's just swept and cleaned up to get her deposit back, and the last little bit of food left in the apartment, in this case stale raisin bread. A much more happy setting poem, but this poem is much more about a time of day than a place, is Morning by Billy Collins. And at the end of Painting a Room, she's laying down and going to sleep. Well, this is about waking up in the morning and being all excited. I am always sort of jealous of the speaker in this poem because I'm not a morning person. And this poem is very clearly about being a morning person and waking up and being like, yes, it's my favorite part of the day. Morning is the best part of the day, and you wake up and you jump up out of bed and you're all excited, and the day is full of possibilities, and you're just excited to get up and get going. Why do we bother with the rest of the day? The swale of the afternoon, the sudden dip into evening. Then night with his notorious perfumes, his many pointed stars. And so this poem even starts off with morning is the high point of the day, and it's all sort of downhill. The swale is like a descent, a decline, like going downhill. The sudden dip into evening. So it's like everything is downhill after morning. Morning is the high point of the day. This is the best. Throwing off the light covers, feet on the cold floor, buzzing around the house on espresso. So you get all these, experiences that are all these happy experiences of morning. You throw off the covers of your bed because you're so excited to get up. You get your feet down on the floor. You get the coffee going. Maybe a splash of water on the face. You wash your face. A palm full of vitamins, but mostly buzzing around the house on espresso. Buzzing around the house is a very different experience than sort of getting up and staggering around and struggling. So you get up, you get coffee and vitamins and wash your face, and you're just like energized. And then he sits down and gets to work. Dictionary and atlas open on the rug, the typewriter waiting for the key of the head, a cello on the radio. So he sits down to work. He's got his books open. He's got the typewriter that he's going to type on. He's got music playing in the background, working music to get him in the mood to work. And if necessary, the windows. Trees 50, 100 years old out there. Heavy clouds on the way, in the lawn steaming like a horse in the early morning. So he sits down to work. He's got this nice view out of the window. Y'all have seen these mornings like this when it's really foggy. It's really overcast. There's fog, especially if you live near water. The lawn's steaming like a horse. Y'all have seen this. The sort of sun comes up and it's the steam coming off of the lawn, the frost getting burned off by the sun. And he looks out and he's got this nice view, this kind of view you would only have in the morning, this kind of sight you would only see. So it's just all these sort of happy experiences that he connects with waking up in the morning and getting to work and getting yourself going. So what this poem is really about is about the setting is this very particular moment in time, the sort of beginning of the day, and the day full of hope and full of energy, and you get your first coffee and you sit down to get to work, to get busy, and the day is full of promise, and it's all downhill from there. This is the high point of the day. So Painting a Room gives you the setting of this apartment. This gives you the setting of this very particular time of day. So one is a place, one is a time of day, but they both capture this very intense moment in this very particular experience. I hope that helps you start to think about setting both time and place in a useful way, and helps you understand these poems a little better. If you've got any questions, as always, be in touch. Otherwise, thank y'all for your time.